Alright, hello everyone, my name is Disc. I'm a title healer from the War Within, and this is a level 10 seat of the Triumvirate. So before we start the video, always please remember to give a comment, like, and subscribe on the video. We're doing pretty good for the season, having just started. And also, check me out on Medify. This is a third-party website where I do all of my private lessons and instruction. Great way to support the channel and great way to level up your gameplay, so go check me out over there. That is where I share all of my import-export codes. And moving into the season, pretty exciting to have it finally started. I have a partial group I've been playing with and it's been really fun. And before we get into the talents for this key, I wanted to highlight that Bigwigs is back in the game, baby. So that some API changes, restrictions were lifted, and we can now finally customize which timers we're tracking and which timers we're not tracking. So I would say this is a power play for a healer, turning off tracking boss timers that don't really have to do with timing your spells. So I'm playing Voidweaver in this key, a little different than Oracle. It's all about how well we hit our rotation and how well we time our rotation. So tracking less timers on screen does a lot for helping kind of like simplify your approach. And we're going to talk about that when we get to the bosses themselves. But here we have the talents that I ran for this key. Not too much to this, but let's talk about a couple things here and move on. Definitely are going to want Phantasm. So all throughout the dungeon, there are mobs that do like these purple chain mechanics. I don't know the name. But this Phantasm will break the snare. So you definitely want this. It can break pretty much every snare. And the higher the key you get, the more dangerous this becomes. And then instead of Mass Dispel, we don't need it here. I moved over to Inspiration just to help the tank out a little. And then on the Discipline side of things, this is pretty similar to my last build. 2 of 2 in Blaze of Light, Greater Smite, Holy Ray, all the way down to Expiation, taking all the shadow damage and everything over here. But one change from my last video is now I'm banking into Shadow Mend. So Shadow Mend's a really strong point. And as Voidweaver, we need something strong to spot heal with, and that's where this point comes into play. And so I've been on the fence about this. Well, let's talk about a couple things. I'm looking for insight. If anyone has thoughts or whatever, just leave a comment. But I'm not going all the way down in our Apex talents. This has been bugged, but even though it's been fixed, I just feel like the reflective shields triggering Atonement, I just don't think it's that powerful compared to reconciling that point just back up into our tree. But anyway, the last thing I've been toying with is when it comes to talents involving dots, I feel like we only have one to spare. And I've kind of been toying between, do I want Encroaching Shadows or do I want Painful Punishment? And I've kind of landed now on Encroaching Shadows. I think there is more to gain from this if you're really strong with target switching. So what this means is basically every time we cast a Penance, we have to target swap. And every time we cast a Death, we're going to need to target swap. So it's a lot of target swapping, but I think there's more to gain from it over Painful Punishment. And I found a pretty good system. I'll try and just skim over this real quickly. But I use focus targeting to follow the biggest mob of a group. My smite macro funnels into my focus to knock that person down. So what I'll do is after I cast a Penance, I'll go ahead and switch my target to someone holding a dot. I keep spamming smite, trusting that it goes into the right person. And my target is already pre-selected for when my Penance comes up or when my Death comes up. So like in between Death and in between Penances, you know, that's like, you know, a 5 to 10 second window. That's your gap to pre-select your next target. So when the Penance comes up, you have a dot at the ready, Penance your mob with a dot, spread your dot, and move on. But this is not my full group. I am playing with one of my teammates, the Demon Hunter. His name is Theorize, I believe, or Tutor. I forget what his name is. But yeah, it's a pretty fun key. We crushed it. So I think there's some things we can talk about here, highlighting how we are using Bigwigs to our advantage as a healer. Give a comment, like, and a subscribe. I would really appreciate it. We're getting some good momentum on the channel. Check me out on Medify. for private lessons, my import-export codes, and to level up your gameplay. And let's go ahead and clip over to the key. All right, here we go. First key of the season.
5.
My PIs
4,
are going on
3,
Theorize.
2.
My tank healing
1.
macro is set. All of my Radiance and Evangelism will funnel into the tank unless I cast one manually.
5, 4,
And this first room is where we can use Phantasm to our advantage. And this is a really good key, so let's see if we can have some fun doing the voiceover. Putting dots on the big guys. PI's out. Here goes my first rift. I'm pinging for less, but I guess that's not our play here. I am losing a little bit of dot uptime. I think I need to fix my stacking on nameplates. Phantasm that chains off. And we do have a slight misplay from our... his name is Autistic, but he's actually a dev. Similar, Phantasm is to Priest as Rescue is to Evoker. There are other spells that can negate that. It's largely okay in a 10. Switch targets for dots. Largely okay in a 10, but we are going to want every spell possible to negate that chains mechanic in the future. Chains of Subjugation fade. And what's with these affixes? Holy shit. And more coffee. Okay. Last one. We have Evangelism. Let's see if I play. Yep. Grabbed and execute. You may have heard me talk about it in my last video, but it's probably the saddest part for Discipline at the moment. Saddest thing for Discipline. The API's changed to where we can no longer see execute range on nameplates. Sucks a lot. Okay, we have our first boss. Let's see which timers I've selected to track. And with bigwigs, there's nothing... I can't share my profile, so it's just something everyone has to do. But it's worth it. Okay, so targeted cast add-on highlights my frame, showing I'm about to be hit. Great place for a shield. Great place for fade. And here comes our Oozing Slam. So this is one of the timers I'm tracking for the boss. It is group-wide damage. We definitely want an Entropic Rift there. So it looks like what I did is I played the Rift on pull, and then my second Rift was up in time for the Ooze. And when it comes to placing those puddles outside of the room is a good call. Let's see, I have an Evangelism, good to react with here. Let's see. I'm already in my window, so that's fine. And so since I'm playing Encroaching Shadows, the rotation I'm trying to find is in between rifts is where I redot. So almost every rift has a gap between it. That's where I do my redot. Okay, so here's our second Oozing Slam. This one is paired with Evangelism. Evangelism Death. Rift Penance. Really strong rotation when you're sub 20, stacking our pets, stacking for torments. Not a problem. Alright, moving into next room.
The Shadow Guard is building up its presence near the temple.
I really want 2 points in dot spread, but I think that's a little overindulgent. You'll get good value on trash, but you're going to lose value on bosses.
Figure out their motives.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I kind of just like the encroaching shadow. Okay, let's see. I'm going to pick my focus early. Got him. Couple of dots here. We have PI. PI's out. I think this gets a little hectic. So my Mind Blast and Rift was a little delayed there for the damaging mechanic. Lay on Hands and Desperate Prayer. These are getting a little dicey. Why did Opie pop up? I need to figure out that. It's happened more than once. Okay, we have Evangelism. And let's see, we also have Uppies. Have I played Uppies yet? So I noticed I'm favoring just my Rift rotation in these lower keys. Let's see how I play Evangelism here. I'll talk about it on the next one. I'm sure I play it next. But I am delaying my Rift here slightly because the Warden has a group-wide attack. I just want to make sure my Rift covers it. Have I played Uppies yet? Probably not. So hopefully we can see it next, but something I'm trying with Evangelism is always play a Radiance into it. And hold that thought, we'll talk about it. I'll get it eventually. Fade for the Phantasm there. Switch my targets for Penance. Switch my targets for Penance again. Switching targets for Death. Big Shadow Mend. Death Penance. Okay. I'm sure I play Evangelism here. Let's see. So when you Radiance into Evangelism, I basically look at it as like a 3x Radiance. You know, you have one Radiance plus the 150 of the other Radiance. And if everyone's atoned first, that dips into your Mastery, and mine's at 20. So it comes out to like 270%. Yeah, so sometimes it's important to think about your Mastery element. I've not done it yet. So I only play that rotation. It's a little gluttonous when it comes to CDs. But if I have the time to spare, and if I have a charge of Radiance to spare, I Radiance into the Evangelism just to get the Mastery for the 150 Evangelism. We'll get it eventually. Not always needed, but you know, it's also going to stack you a double stack of Harsh Discipline, which is nice. We have PI. Just dotting everything I can while we gather. Ouch. That Evangelism. Missed the Evoker. I should have let it go to the tank. No dot out either. Ouch. So we'll get through this, but it's looking like a low parse pull for me. There's no piece. Bit of Death on the way up for the Uppies. Death, then Penance for some free torments. Dot as many as I can before boss spawn. And not too much to this boss as healer. A minigame I'm thinking about with Encroaching Shadows is keeping all three dotted just with my Penance. And as far as boss timers to track, I'm tracking Overload. That's a group-wide hit. I think I should be tracking that one too. So when the circles explode, it's followed up with an Overload, which is another group-wide attack. So we have the Screech from the bird. Nothing you can do about that. So I'm tracking Overload. I'm going to turn on tracking for when the circles explode. Tracking the bleed is fine as a reaction. Playing defensives. Let's see, here comes an Overload, and I have a bleed. I have Fade. That would be perfect right now. Nope. Okay, PI's out. And it looks like there's messages popping up on my screen. I thought I turned those off from Bigwigs. I need to figure that out. I don't like those messages at all. Word to the wise people using Bigwigs, turn off all messages. I thought I had them turned off. Switching targets for dot spread. Oh. Probably because I'm Voidweaver, right? Oh, I wouldn't have taken that res. Boss down. Alright, going into these trash pulls can be a little bit dicey as healer because they can overlap. So whenever you see an overlap, great place for paints up, shields. I think I have a good play of evangelism here. Delaying my rift just a little bit for better timing. Boinked by the evoker. Radiance into evangelism. Getting that extra bonus. Then my rift paints up because I was double selected. Okay. Yeah, that evoker, he boinked me hard. Forget what our play is here. Only have one dot out. Let's see how well I can manage this with my penance. Okay, that was a defensive penance. I should have cast a Radiance first. Could have done that better. Missed a Torment there too. Okay, two more of these guys. Fade. We have PI to give. PI's out. We have evangelism too. Health potion. Just go crazy. Dotting in between my rifts. Execute into Mind Blast Penance for the torments. Fade when I was selected. Uh-oh. Radiance into evangelism for the boost. And that was a really good example where we needed the extra output. And dipping into that mastery made a difference. Ouch. Not for too long, though. That was a little bit of a messy start. Theorize, I'm not sure if you pulled aggro to die. I got hit by a ball. We started strong, but faded. And I forget if this is a full wipe or not. I think we salvage. So when it comes to picking up a recovery, I think that's a very fair conversation. Missed my execute. Okay, we had 3 deaths. But all is not lost. So I did use my Shadow Meld back there. You can see with the targeted cast add-on, before you're hit with the beam, Shadow Meld can help. Okay. We have PI. I think I'm holding for boss, or I might play it here. Let's see. Played. So we can see a little more clearly here these beams that go out. I couldn't tell if we see it ahead of time or not. We'll do it again. Let's watch. Pardon. Another Radiance into Evangelism to bank the Mastery. Really like that combo. Yeah, there is no cast of those channels. It looks like it goes just into the channel. So it's a reaction type of mechanic. You want to make sure you have your team covered for those. Shadow Meld if you're picked. Okay, boss. So I'm tracking Mass Void Infusion, Umbral Tentacles, and Repulse. The Mass Void Infusion, not too sure if I want to track this in the future. It says 3-target cleave. Umbral Tentacles, though, that is where we're going to want group-wide healing with a Rift. Looks like I played my Rift on cooldown. Here come Tentacles, and we're 5 seconds away. So... a little dicey, perhaps, to play Rift on open like that. Sent my Torments into the Tentacles there. That was our Repulse. So maybe I could turn off Repulse too. All I need to track is the Tentacles. Okay, we had a slight misplay here, but we recovered. This was going to be covered by Darkness, but Darkness was played a little early. So I went into Evangelism. Okay, Rift in 5 seconds. This is my time to atone and dot. That might have been a good defensive penance, but we're okay. Okay, here come the second round of Tentacles. And my Rift is even further away than the first time. So it's not great. Repulse. Yeah, I think I'm going to turn off that bar timer and just track Tentacles. And I think you see why. I'm playing my Rift when I don't have enough time. Uppies on this one. Went up with a death. And recovered. Okay, so going into next boss, there's pretty much constant damage throughout. There's spike damage on 3 targets at once. We have to aim lines at, like, the nodes. So this is a good place to practice your personal defensives. I would say run Fade as much as possible. If you're targeted with 3-target cleave, that's a good spot for pain sups on yourself, desperate prayer on yourself. This is a good spot to play shields out of combat. That will help your pain sup anytime there's dead time. Also play a Radiance. Go ahead and let your Radiance reset and bank a proc. We have PI and Evangelism. I don't think I play Evangelism on Rip. Not fully necessary. PI's out, Fade's out. Rift is out with a little bit of a delay. Big importance on a fight like this where there's constant damage. Never let your Rift collapse with people missing atonements in party. Desperate Prayer. I had a Void Shield. Coulda, shoulda played that. I'm not even sure if I got the mechanic correct. If someone could check me on that. Okay, redotting in between my rifts. I wish I could turn off that red debuff on frames. Could be playing Fade more. Fade on this one though, and paints up. So here comes our damage amp phase. I thought I was tracking this on bigwigs. I need to turn that back on. You do want to have a rift here, so let's see how it goes. Yep, right after the ding. And I don't think you need to practice any sort of early collapse here with your macro. I think it'll collapse in its own time and still hit the phase. Something to be prepared for though is we see this backlash coming up. It'll hit the group when the phase ends. Evangelism Death Rift Penance. That's a really strong rotation for us. Spawns a pet, get a Torment, and another pet. Then Mind Blast Penance. Trigger more Torments. And boss down. Really not a problem in 10s just yet. We're starting to feel the pain of a dungeon, which is pretty fun. But big changes for bigwigs for the win. Go ahead and start customizing your lists. It is the strongest thing you can do as a healer, in my opinion. Turn off all the messages in bigwigs and start trying to track only things that have to do with timing your rift if you're playing Voidweaver. But thanks everyone for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. Check me out on Medify for private lessons. And until next time, Disc out.